Welcome to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter, the show that takes a look at the events and what's happening all around Putnam County, as well as interviews with local, community, and business leaders. And now, sharing his insights and experience, here's Today in Putnam County with County Mayor Randy Porter.
Welcome to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Glad you're with us this week. Hope you're having a great day. Our show this week is about one of our great nonprofits, Rising Above Ministries. They provide such needed services in our community to special needs families. Done a great job. I've known Becky Davidson and Steve for a long time, and Steve is my guest today, Steve Chatman. He is the vice president at Rising Above Ministries. Steve, we got to say, Becky was planning on being on the show with us today, but she wasn't feeling well this morning, and so we're doing the show with you today and talk about Rising Above Ministries and everything that, from start to finish, how it began back with Becky and all the stuff with Jeff and her husband and their special needs child, and how it's grown to the point that it is today. With y'all are such a great organization and what y'all do. Thanks for being on the show today.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, and thanks for having us. Yeah, and she was so bummed she couldn't make it today.
She was, and
it's just the unexpected.
It's
that's
just
our
part of life anymore, isn't it? It's just, and sure. I do not know how Becky does it. Okay,
she's amazing.
Yes, to have a special needs child and do everything she does to Rising Above, she's an amazing woman. And so, Becky, shout out to you.
Right.
We're sorry you're not here, but we're going to talk about you a lot today.
That's right.
So, Steve, you're the vice president of Rising Above, and if we go back to the beginning, you got Jeff and Becky Davidson. Mm-hmm. They married, starting a family, have a child, and soon realized that that John Alex, their son, has some issues. Testing, go through all those things that you go through with a child that has physical problems, and come to find out that that John Alex was going to be a special needs child, and their life changed, right? Yes. And you know, in your life, you have two special needs children, and I know we were friends with Jeff and Becky long for years and years and years, and know a lot of the struggles they went through. Talk a little bit about that. You know what they went through. Talk about what you went through, and realizing that, and the struggles that special needs families have that Rising Above is helping with today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the best ways I think sometimes you can describe it to someone who doesn't really understand that journey is to imagine you've spent months and maybe years planning to move to Paris, France, to take a new job, a new life, and you get on the plane and you fly, and as you're making the approach, the pilot comes on and says, "Thank you so much for flying, and we want to welcome you to Holland." And you're like, wait a minute, we were going to Paris. Right. And they're like, oh, there's been a change. You've been assigned to Holland.
Right.
Now, Holland's great, but it's not Paris.
It's not Paris, right.
And it's different, and all your friends are in Paris and you've been preparing. Well, that's kind of what happens. You're a parent and you have all the dreams of what parenting is going to be like, what your family. Jeff was a big UT Vols fan.
Oh.
And just,
Lead orange.
Yes, and just those dreams of teaching his son to play football, basketball, and going to UT games and things like that. And then suddenly you realize that's not going to be our story. And Jeff recounts in a book he wrote just of that journey and that struggle, and how he really wrestled with God over that, of like, why?
He did.
And this is hard.
Yes.
But I love how he shared there was a significant moment when he just felt the Lord basically just spoke to him and said, "Jeff, I've given you a gift in your son, John Alex.
Yeah.
What you do with it is up to you." And, that's when he realized, there's other families like ours that are walking through this too. And Jeff had such a heart for people and ministry. And so he and Becky, 20 years ago, in the fall of 2005, began just gathering families for a little sensory-friendly worship gathering. And they saw that there's a lot of families. And so from there, they just began adding, family events and doing things, and started realizing that there's a lot of other families out there. And these families need to find each other.
Yeah.
They need that community. and so Rising Above was born, and it just started going, and God blessing it, and then of course about eight years ago this May, we lost Jeff.
What a tragedy!
And it was a shock, and and that could have been the end of the story for Rising Above Ministries, but Becky, I mean, just courageously stepped in as a widow, a single mom, and continued this ministry. And Mary, it has grown way beyond the Upper Cumberland. I mean, just what has happened under her leadership, and how the Lord's just blessed and continues to help us connect and find these families just like ours that are out there that are struggling. They're overwhelmed. I mean, and it's a tragic but beautiful story.
God had a plan, though, didn't he,
Yes.
Steve? I mean, he has a plan for everything.
That's right.
Sometimes it takes us a while
Yes.
to
decide we want to get on board with it.
Yes, it's kind of like the train, You're at the station, you're trying to think, okay, which one do I get on? Well, you got to get on the one that God's got planned for you. But when I look back and think about Becky and Jeff, they struggled in the beginning. I mean, they really struggled because it's like life threw them lemons, and it took them a while to decide they were going to make lemonade out of it. Right. And but I can't think of any two people any better suited to do what they've been able to do. Once they realized that there's other people out there going through the same thing they do. And I want to talk about this a little bit. Special needs families, they struggle. And I'm not talking from experience. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but don't you see those special need families? They kind of isolate themselves a lot of times.
Yes,
and
yes, you do. We talk a lot about the special needs cave that you just sort of retreat into, because unfortunately we live in a society that just doesn't always know what to do with special needs individuals or people with disabilities, and so it's harsh out there sometimes. It's scary. It's complicated. Things that most families just take for granted. All the wonderful things that we do here in Putnam County and in this region, family things.
Yeah.
For many of families like ours, sometimes those are challenges that we don't realize.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's hard, and so sometimes it's just easier to retreat into that cave and isolate yourself, and you're just overwhelmed. Even within your own family, your extended family sometimes just doesn't know. Your church oftentimes doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so the isolation and loneliness is huge. And I think the general population doesn't always realize how large of a population is impacted by disabilities. According to the CDC, it's nearly 30% of the population is impacted by some type of disability. That's a lot of people.
It is, and I saw a stat the other day, just in our school system, the number of children that have learning disabilities, special needs.
It's staggering. I have gone around and met with several of our special education coordinators, supervisors in the Upper Cumberland schools and in our public school systems, almost across the board. When I ask them, hey, how many of your students have an individual education plan, meaning they've got some type of disability, it's about a fifth of their student body.
You're exactly right. 20%.
From Putnam County, large counties, to Jackson County, it's consistent. So in Putnam County alone, you're talking about close to 2,000 students.
That's right.
And that's just the school age. Families that have school-age children. A lot of course, these kids grow and they become adults with disabilities, and so you've got thousands of families right here in the Upper Cumberland who are impacted by disabilities and special needs.
And thank God for Rising Above Ministries that has come along to help those. And who better to do anything is someone that has experienced it. So I can go out and I'm not a plumber, okay? I'm not good at that because I don't do that.
Right.
But someone that has experienced plumbing, they can tell me how to do it because they've experienced it. And I just think God had this plan for Becky and Jeff with Rising Above, and to have to experience all they've gone through, to know what needed to be done to help all these other families.
Right.
And so it's we're going to talk a lot more about that and Rising Above and a lot of the events and the things that y'all do. But we got to take a break. You're listening to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Steve Chatman and Rising Above Ministries.
And now back to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. This week's show is about one of our great nonprofits here that provides some unbelievable services to special needs families. You may not have heard about it. It's Rising Above Ministries, started by Jeff and Becky Davidson many years ago. My guest today is Steve Chatman. He's the vice president at Rising Above. 20 years ago, Steve? Has it been that long?
20 years this fall.
Wow, what an anniversary. Amazing. So we're talking about special needs families, and that means children, most of the time in a special need family, that have some form of disabilities, whether that be physical, mental, emotional, whatever it might be, that they're having to deal with. And in a lot of those cases, the disabilities are so bad that they're not able to go places and do things that normal children would do. So we were talking about how that families tend to isolate themselves sometimes, and they're not going to church like they did. They're not able to go and interact with other families and so forth. And so Becky and Jeff saw a need there. Well, God saw the need, put it down to Jeff and Becky with John Alex, and they started this Rising Above to try to help those families. So talk about that and how that got started and the things that Rising Above is doing to try to reach those families to help them.
Yeah. We oftentimes think that we're writing our own story.
Yeah.
But it's really not a true autobiography. I tell people a lot of times, oftentimes God takes the pen out of your hand and He writes chapters that I wouldn't have chosen to written.
No.
But He does, but then He puts the pen back and says, "Now you write the next chapter."
Yeah.
And and that's what families have to do. We realize, okay, this isn't the life I expected I was going to live, but it is the life I have.
Yeah.
And so it's overwhelming. It's a lot of men. Men have special needs dads have big emotions. We're not as good as our wives at sharing those and expressing them. But there's a lot going on. Guys, we're fixers by nature.
We bundle it up on the inside.
We do, yes. And so we can't fix this, and so sometimes we throw ourselves into things but there's just a lot of things going on, and so many families are impacted. And I always tell folks, if you've met one special needs family, you've met one special needs family. Because the needs are so different.
One's different.
The disabilities are so different. I mean, the spectrums are so wide. But there's so many families. Most people, you might not realize it, but you probably know someone that has special need.
Yeah.
You go to church, you work with them. There's a lot of hidden disabilities. I have 2 daughters with Down syndrome. So we walk in a place, it's obvious we've got two daughters, but there's hidden disabilities, folks on the autism spectrum. There's things that you just can't see that a lot of times are going on there. And so it creates challenges for these families. One of the things Rising Above has realized is these families need to find each other because they need community.
Right.
And sometimes, we do a monthly gathering for dads. We do a lot of things just to bring these parents, these families together. Because sometimes it's just good to sit down with somebody who you don't have to explain. They understand.
already know.
They get it. They understand those challenges.
Yeah.
The neurotypical siblings. You got a lot of kids who have a special needs brother or sister, and that impacts them differently than it does mom and dad.
Right.
And so we try to do things there for them as well, just trying to, and that was really the heart and the vision that Jeff and Becky saw, was that these families need to find each other. And so it went from just providing like a monthly sensory-friendly gathering to producing resources, Bible studies for couples, for moms, for dads, fun programs for neurotypical siblings to encourage them, marriage retreats, mom retreats. I mean, things like that just grew to a lot of more events and things to try to help bring these families together, to help them find each other, to navigate some of those challenges. Because one of the challenges that we're always, I think, facing is as special needs families, and it's cliche, but it's that whole thing of like, you can let this make you bitter, or make you better.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you this, Mayor, and I tell our families all the time, a child with a disability, sometimes we look at that and say, what, why?
Yeah.
And this is horrible. But I'm telling you, families like Jeff and Becky, like our family, that John, at Rising Above, we call John Alex our chief inspirational officer.
Yeah.
A special needs child will elicit such a profound love and maturity and compassion in its family, in those parents, in those neurotypical siblings grow up to be some of the most Now, their life can be challenging having that sibling with a disability, but they grow up to be some of the most compassionate, loving, understanding people on the face of the earth. And that might not have happened had they not have been given that situation.
That's right.
You know, and that's just how God will take those things and he brings something really good and beautiful out of it.
Except those lemons, it makes lemonade out of them, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
Steve, Rising Above, and I know it's become a large organization. I mean, y'all are in different countries now.
Yeah,
I
our
mean,
resources are, yeah.
Jeff I just know he's smiling down, saying, "Oh wow,
Yes,
look
yes.
what this has become." But that takes a lot of resources and funds and volunteers and everything. So first, if there's folks out there that want to volunteer or donate or help Rising Above, how's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, well, a couple of ways. Obviously, they can call us, Rising Above, call us. Our local number is 526-RISE, I think is the acronym there. But our website's probably the easiest today.
Yeah.
And if you Google Rising Above Ministries, we'll pop up.
That's risingaboveministries.org.
And you can go on there. You can actually sign up to volunteer. It's a general form, and then what that does is we'll inform you when we have events coming up, and if it's something that works for your calendar, if it's something you might want to be and then you'll go on there and it'll show you all the various ways you can serve. And so that's a way just to get yourself on that list, so you'll know, oh, that's coming up. Our family would like to help with that, or me and my daughter would like to go volunteer at that, because we do things throughout the year. So that's an easy way just to get involved and serve. And we have we could not do what we do, the scope of what we do here in the Upper Cumberland, without our volunteers. And if you talk to anybody that's served at a Rising Above event, they will tell you it is such a blessing. It is so fun.
Absolutely.
It does not feel like work. It is fun. And I always tell folks too, hey, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Number one, we're not going to have you doing anything that you're like, oh, I'm so not qualified for. We're going to help you and equip you and train you to know exactly what you need to do. And you'll love it. Sure.
We attended and try to attend every one of your banquets, and the last one you had at Leslie Town Center. That place was packed.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of events at Leslie Town Center. I've never seen that many people at that. I mean, it was.
We had to add a table.
It was almost standing room only, So
it was great.
So, and if they want to donate, you have a way to do that on your website?
Yeah, on our website as well. There's a donate button. You click that. It's a very user-friendly process, and we are so grateful for folks in this community, the generosity to give, to think of us, to remember us. Absolutely.
We live in a great community,
We
don't
do.
we, Steve,
We sure
that
do.
Reaches out. And I think you and I have known that for years. When the tornado happened, it really reinforced that of how the folks came together. And we go to a lot of nonprofit events and fundraisers and everything, and it's amazing how much our community gives when it comes to these kind of things.
Yes.
But you have to have it to be able to operate.
You do.
These services that y'all are providing to all these special needs families, you couldn't do it without those funds and volunteers.
That's right.
And we got to take a break. You're listening to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. More with Steve Chatman with Rising Above Ministries after this quick break.
And now back to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great week. Our show this week is about one of our great nonprofits. It's called Rising Above Ministries. and they provide services to special needs families. And we have a lot of those in Putnam County, a lot across the world. And they're an unbelievable organization that reaches out to these families and gives them the help that they need with their special needs children. And my guest today is Steve Chatman. He is the Vice President of Rising Above Ministries. And Steve, we've been talking about how this started with Jeff and Becky and special needs families. We talked about volunteering and how people could donate. Let's hit the other side. We know there's a lot of special need families out there that you may not know about. Yeah. So if they happen to be listening or watching today the show, if they're out there and they're looking for Rising Above, tell us how they would go about finding you and how they can reach out.
Yeah, any family listening, or if you know someone, maybe your grandma or your grandpa, and you have a son who just had a child that was diagnosed with special needs. Again, just going to our website, risingaboveministries.org. You can find us. There's a contact link there. You can reach out to us directly, and just say, hey, I'm looking. Here's my story. We meet with parents nearly every week. Many who are just getting a new diagnosis, and you're just kind of like, I don't even know where to begin, and it's overwhelming. And we want to walk with you through that. I tell people
from the beginning, right?
As early as you can. I tell people all the time, listen, I'm not an expert. I'm a fellow practitioner living this life. Yeah. I can tell you a lot of things not to do, but we've learned some things. My two girls with special needs are 22 and 21, so we've been doing this a while. John Alex is 26, I think 27 now. So we've walked this life, and so we want to come alongside of you and help you navigate that. Yeah. And we just got lots of resources. On our website, you can find our podcast. Becky does a weekly podcast. We're launching a podcast for dads later this year. Right. We're in the process of putting that together. We've got so many resources on there. You can find out how to download our app, and our app has tons of resources.
That app is neat.
It's amazing. I mean, you can find inspirational talks. You can find we've created little 2-3 minute segments if you just need a little pick-me-up, because you're having what we call one of those special needs parent moments, and you just need to be reminded that you're not alone. There's just so many resources, and we want to get those to these families, and we want to help those families find each other. And some of these younger families that are getting that new diagnosis, to find some of these veterans who've been walking it out for many years. And there's so much wisdom we can share with one another. So if you know anybody out there, if you just reach out to us. I had a grandmother reach out to me just yesterday. And it was a friend of hers that you need to call Rising Above and get in touch with them, because she actually just recently got custody of her 5-year-old who has autism. Oh, wow. And so she's just looking for resources, for help, for encouragement, and someone, said you should reach out. So yeah, if you know anybody, send them our way. We would love to just talk to them, encourage them, hook them up with resources and other families for sure.
Y'all put on some events, Steve, each year to help these families in our community. You want to talk about some of those?
Yeah, we've got some great events. Our first one coming up is March 28th. It's our spring prom, and this is for individuals with disability special needs 14 years and up. We'll have folks there 15. We'll have folks there 75, and they dress up it's a prom.
It's a prom.
It's a prom. Life Church hosted. They are a wonderful host, and it's just a great, super fun evening. So we have about close to 200, we call them our very special guests that come for this. Of course, we need about another 200 volunteers for that as well. Yeah. So there's lots of opportunities. We have a respite room for the parents and caregivers, and so we feed them and just do some things and door prizes so they can just kind of have a moment of respite while their child is in there having a great time.
It's their night to shine.
It is. It's super fun. They love it. So that's coming up March 28th. We have in June, we'll have our annual retreat for moms. Last year was the first year we went back live in person, and Hope Church in Allgood hosted, and they're phenomenal hosts for that event. And last year we had over 100 moms in person come to Cookeville from all over the country. We had a mom from Alaska that came
Traveled to
Cookeville. Wow. And then we had another 100 online. We simulcast it. Right. So that's coming up June 20th and 21st. we'll have our dad's retreat later in the year, and that's in the fall in October. And we do that live in person. We have dads from around the country come to that. We had a dad from South Dakota last year.
Wow,
came
making those long trips.
Just pour into these parents, and it's a great time. So our Heroes Ball is later in the year. It's in November, but that's a super fun event. And then throughout the year, every month we have a gathering. Second Tuesday of the month, dads meet at the Rising Above office. We feed them. Local churches provide meals, and we just hang out, connect with one another. Becky has started a thing on Saturday mornings for some of these new moms.
Yeah.
And so any of these activities, events, you can find out about them on our website. If you're on social medias, just look us up on Facebook, Instagram. We're on there, and we post all this stuff. And I tell families there's just so many resources there.
It's unbelievable.
That you can, and it's free.
It is.
Yeah.
There's no charge giving
Right.
it away. And did you ever dream that you'd be going into other countries and other languages and all this kind of stuff?
Well, you know this very well. COVID.
Yes.
It really changed the trajectory.
Another one of those lemonade
Well,
things,
right? They were planning our annual retreat for moms.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and we're like, we can't do this in person. So we said, well, let's try a virtual event. Had no idea. Usually would have about 150 moms come here to Cookeville.
Yeah.
We did that thing online. We had over 500 moms
Isn't that
from
amazing?
around the country that logged in and watched that simulcast. And so that just was the realization that there's a lot of families, even beyond the Upper Cumberland. And so we have virtual community groups that meet weekly. We have moms. We have a mom from Alaska. We have moms from Texas. We have a mom in Sweden.
Wow.
That meets with one of those local community groups. We've got a church in Beirut, Lebanon, that we share resources with. We resource them. We partner with them. We coach them. They're ministering to special needs families, over there. We've got connected with folks in Belize, in Kenya, just finding us. We've not really gone out looking. They've just
They're
found
looking
us
for you.
online because
Yeah.
we've put so many resources out there now. And they're able to take those things. We're looking to move into translating a lot more of our resources into some of these languages, so that they can have them and use them in those other countries as well.
Because special needs isn't just in America,
it's all over the world.
And so without doing all that across the internet, I mean, most of these families, they have a hard time just going out in their own community, much less coming to one of the events. So you're basically coming to them,
Right,
providing these simulcasts and things across the internet. That's amazing.
It's a very good use.
It is.
That technology.
And we talk about how bad COVID was and all the bad things it did, but there were some good things that came out of it. We learned a lot, and being able to do that. I want to talk to you about special needs and some of the diseases that we're seeing. So we're seeing a growing number of kids with autism and a lot of these diseases. But we look at some other countries, they don't seem to have as much of that as we do. And I just want to get your opinion. Is there something we're doing, Steve? Is there something we're eating? There's something we're breathing? You think there's something out there that is causing us to have larger numbers of those kind of things than other countries, or not? I mean, what's your opinion?
The thing that comes to mind is I grew up in East Tennessee in the country, and that's I want to say you're about to open a can of worms.
Maybe we need to leave that can shut.
There's a lot of thoughts and opinions, but it is true. And some of this could be, is it because we're reporting it better now?
Could be more of us. Yeah,
I don't know, but it's like one in 36 children are diagnosed on the autism spectrum. I mean, one in 45 adults. So, I mean, there is definitely we've seen some increases. Again, is it because we're better reporting at it now or diagnosing it?
Or we keeping it kind of secret? The families didn't talk about it before.
And you can research that. There's lots of debates over why that might be, what's driving it,
But we really don't know, right?
I mean, I would tell you, I think a lot of the stuff we eat is probably causing a lot of problems for us.
Cancer and all kinds of things in it.
But it's just one of those things. I mean, we're never going to solve that, and there's never going to be a magic pill, and we're always going to have difficulties. We're always going to find ourselves
There'll be something in there
in unexpected scenarios.
Yeah.
And that's why things like organizations like Rising Above exist. It's like we want to be able to step in that with you. We don't have all the answers. You know, one of the biggest questions, parents, and especially dads that I deal with a lot, is why. And I'm like, I'll never be able to answer that question for you.
You can't, can you?
I can't answer it for you. And the truth of the matter is, an answer to that question wouldn't change my situation anyway.
Right.
So it's almost fruitless to run after that.
Worry about it.
It's just going to destroy me and cause me to miss out on, not why did this happen, but what may my life look like now. And
what can I do in the future to make my life better?
Because I'm telling you, your life will be different. It will always be hard. You'll always have to make sacrifices as a special needs parent. You'll always be different. These are just some of the knowns. Yeah. But it doesn't mean your life will be bad. Your life can thrive. Your life can really be good. Because I think sometimes we think that a good life is the absence of difficulties. And that's just not true. No. The truth of the matter is you would never really know what really good is if we didn't have struggles and challenges sometimes. Exactly. So it's just learning to get to that point. But sometimes we need help getting there. And that's where I feel like Rising Above, we want to step in. We're parents too. Listen, I have bad days, dark days, hard days. Becky does as well. My wife, just like everybody else, we're not experts. We haven't figured it all out, but we're still on that journey, and we're saying, let's help each other, and let's find each other out there, and we can do that.
Well, y'all are doing a great job of it, and I want to say from the bottom of my heart, we love y'all. I've known Becky for a lot longer than I've known you, but y'all are doing a great job at Rising Above, and we support you 100% and appreciate you being on the show. And
thank you for having us.
Keep up the good work, and we want to hear in the future about all the great things that y'all continue to do.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I've enjoyed being here.
Thanks, Steve. That's our show for this week. I hope you join us every week for Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you have a great rest of your day. May God continue to bless Putnam County.
You've been listening to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.